I can tell you as well something that I know you'll have strong opinions on. After the horrendous scenes that unfolded in Liverpool, of course, this week, many of you were very quick to point out that actually the police force very, very quickly released information relating to the ethnicity of the suspect that they had in mind. This has formed quite a conversation and quite a debate. Let's listen to the Met Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, today.
Some content will be all over social media very, very quickly. People will be making guesses and inferences. I think in that world, putting more facts out is the only way to deal with it.
And when we say more facts, or when he says more facts, the conversation is kind of debating about whether or not, as standard, as routine, the ethnicity of the suspects should be released. What do you think to that, Peter Hitchens?
Well, perhaps the people who are in favour of it could tell me exactly why they think it should be so.
Well, because they'll be interested in open, transparent justice. And they will be interested in filling the void that's been created and potential misinformation in social media.
Why do they have to know that? And who's going to spread this potential misinformation? And why should we pander to them? I am a person of the 60s, and one of the most moving things I ever heard was Martin Luther King saying that people should be judged not by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character. I stick by that. I find the whole idea of in cases such as this, giving out the people's skin colour highly suspect. I'd like to know why people think it's a good idea. Maybe they can tell me, because I can't quite see it.
Well, do you think it's a good idea at home? I know many of you will. Get in touch and tell Peter why you think that. Aaron Bastani, your thoughts?
So I don't think it's a good idea, but I think it's probably necessary because...
For what reason?
Well, I'll explain. Because of the vacuum that's created by people, I think, often with malicious intentions, as you kind of hinted at there, often racist intentions, I think, speculating in the absence of concrete information about why somebody has done something, who they are, where they come from. We've got the Southport killing, awful event. In the immediate aftermath of...
Probably more to do with marijuana than anything
those killings. Well, I mean, that's an interesting conversation as well.
Yeah, but hang on, because his defence, I'm going off topic, but just to be clear, his defence didn't put anything forward about mental health and drug use and all the rest of it in that case.
I don't care about his defence. What I know is that he entirely changed his character around about the age of 12 or 13, which is what so many of your viewers have been describing happened to children and grandchildren of their acquaintance.
Right, carry on, Aaron.
Yeah, so in the immediate aftermath of what happened there, people were saying it was a Syrian refugee. I think there was even a name attached to this person. They'd come over recently, etc., etc. And I think it probably would have been useful, and this is obviously, this announcement today is probably in response to that. It probably would have been useful for the authorities to say, no, it's not a recently arrived Syrian refugee. Now, I agree with Peter. I don't think that's a good thing, but I think that's sadly the world we live in. And it's a world where everybody has access to publish whatever they think, wherever they want, whenever they want, and state authorities ultimately have to respond to that. They have to step up to the plate. Doesn't mean I like it, but I do think it's somewhat necessary.
A lot of people previously, or a lot of people in power, Peter, might have talked about prejudicing trials, contempt of court, or whatever it is to restrict information. I personally think that that is often been misused, and it's often been misused as an attempt to deliberately suppress information, because stating somebody's ethnicity, stating somebody's skin colour, that's not going to prejudice anything. That's just a fact. It's a statement of fact.
Well, if you start doing it on every occasion that somebody is charged, you're going to have some interesting circumstances, aren't you? And some old lady is finally arrested for shoplifting after 97 previous offences. Are we going to say that the old lady had a white skin, or if somebody is arrested for anything, are we always going to have to give their skin colour in future?
Why not? What's wrong with transparency?
Why? Here's the question. Why? We haven't previously done so.
No, we have.
What are we pandering to here?
Well, we have previously done it, Peter. When people are white, they do that.
I am hugely in favour of the rules against prejudicing trials. I think they're incredibly important for sustaining something which is already under severe attack, the presumption of innocence. It's very difficult for anyone to get a fair trial in a place where there is no rule against contempt of court of the kind which we operate. And I'm very worried about whittling it away. And also, as I say, I really do think people need to be less inclined to go charging after rumours or indeed spreading them they seem to have been lately, and we shouldn't redesign our society to suit them. We should ask them to reform themselves so that we can continue to live in civilised circumstances.
Yeah, but so I know what some of you think. You and I talk every single night, and I do my best to read pretty much all of the messages that come through to me. So I know what many of you think and feel on these kind of topics. And what people will get in touch with me and say, there is a sense of mistrust towards policing, towards government officials in this country. We essentially have policing by consent in this country, and the law and justice service is supposed to be fair, it's supposed to be impartial, and all the rest of it. And many people, Peter, will feel that there has been a different approach for a criminal who is of a white skin colour versus a criminal that is a brown skin colour or a black skin colour. Often you will see descriptions where, let's just say, you're looking for an attacker. The police will say, we're looking for a white guy, I don't know, brown hair, whatever. You might get an E-fit. Have you seen this guy? Then you'll see the other side of the coin, where very frequently what you'll find is there's been some kind of chemical attack. Have you seen a man? Can you check your doorbell footage for a man? A man? A man, you say, and then automatically, Peter, people feel, and they will then start having conversations about, hold on a second, because if it was a white man, you'd tell us it was a white man. So then people will feel that you're deliberately restricting the information of the skin colour in order to try and create some form of two-tier justice, and that is the sentiment that people have, whether it's right or wrong.
Before giving you any answer on that, I really would have to see something remotely resembling research and facts on it.
Well, I remember. I can remember. I'm sure it was the case.
I necessarily think that it's an.
What was that chemical attacker? I want to say, was it Samuel Abedi? What was his name? Do you remember the chemical attacker in Clapham? Does anyone remember this? I'm testing my memory real time. But the guy that did it was an Abdul Azidi, that's it, someone just told me. He did a chemical attack. It wasn't acid, actually. I think it was some kind of alkaline substance or something like that. I remember the early calls for him, that attacker. Has anyone seen him? And I'm sure, and I'm happy to be corrected, I'm sure that all of the descriptions there was, have you seen a man? Have you seen a man? And it immediately sparks conversation and speculation. I should
point out, Michelle, also there's a complete difference between putting out information to try and catch a suspect who hasn't been detained and putting out information on somebody who has been detained and has been charged. They're two different circumstances.
But so what is it that you're concerned about? So you're
saying I'm not concerned at all. I don't want this change. I would like the people who want this change to explain to me exactly why it is they want it.
I can expect. Well, but they'd also say public order, right? We saw public disorder last year.
We did see public disorder,
precisely because there wasn't that early strategic messaging from the authorities about what happened.
Or is it because certain people tried to give the impression that something was being suppressed?
Yeah, but if we take your theory,
which actually wasn't really,
that something's being suppressed, let's just say, the way to counter that is with honest, accurate fact.
Well, okay.
Isn't it?
And where somebody's skin colour is relevant, then it ought to be released, and where it's not relevant, then it oughtn't to be.
Well, I think if
you're hunting for a suspect and you're pretty certain of the suspect's skin colour, then you can say whatever colour it is while you're hunting for them.
Well, I would like more transparency
what are you doing it for
on a lot more things, actually, not just skin colour.
It's a different. I still don't know exactly what it is that those who are calling for this think it will achieve.
I think we've both explained it relatively articulately. If anyone at home can articulate it even better, so Peter leaves tonight with a sense of, yes, I get it, might not agree with it, but I get it, then feel free to have a go. But I think we've explained it well. Accuracy, transparency, stopping voids, stopping misinformation, and actually reinstalling a trust and a fairness back into the justice system that many people feel has been lost over recent years for obvious reasons. I'll tell you what will be interesting.
That's a much bigger job than that, I can tell you.
Well, I'll tell you what will be interesting, ladies and gents, because they've set a bit of a precedent now. So they've come out and said this white 53-year-old British man. They've said that almost instantly. So let's hope that there is not a mass casualty event anytime soon. I really, really hope that that is not the case. But if, unfortunately, there is, let's see how quickly information gets released again. We shall see. Time will tell. And if you want to explain better to Peter, do feel free to contact me all the usual ways.